Hello and welcome to this podcast, and we are on our episode 3 of a loving observation of life. So we are exploring the individual path of awakening and self-realization, and we are utilizing every talent that we have to assist our fellow beings into rising and maintaining equilibrium on this planet Earth, that we are here together. How wonderful. Today's episode is called Channeling is Challenging for the Ego, and we are going to explore why I specifically chose this title. Our podcast is made with love, to love, for love, all in the name of love, basically. We have a YouTube channel that we started when we were going through our awakening. And I say "our" because I can see myself as one person. So many bacterias and cells, and there's just a whole colony just within this body's function. So to say that there is just one it just feels very strange. So sometimes I will use the sentence as we, and also we when I speak of in the more spiritual realm with my spiritual team. But going back to why we named this podcast today challenging, that channeling is challenging for the ego. And yeah, I also want to mention too that I started my YouTube channel based on this foundation too of love, and to start something without it always having to be perfect, and that life doesn't work in a way that we want it to work out, where everything is perfect. It doesn't work like that. But we've been conditioned in the collective to believe that is, oh, I'm sorry. I'm recording this and I'm having a video that is in combination with this podcast. So it just fell down. Hi, back again. And if you want to see this where you can actually see me also and not just hear my voice, you can look at this video in YouTube. Because some people like to listen, others, maybe when you're driving you like to listen, but others wants to look at something. You know, we want to see if it's authentic, and that's the whole reason of why we made our channel Dimensions of Love on YouTube, is because we want it to be authentic. And sometimes that means that you have to look at the person, you want to see the expression, you want to feel the realness of the speaker. So if you want to see me, you can always do that on YouTube. But if you just want to listen, that is amazing too, especially if you're driving or cleaning or whatever you're doing when you are picking up this episode. I want to get into channeling facts, and usually as I'm going through everything that I'm doing really on this channel, on this podcast, in a loving observation of life, is truly not to focus too much on the facts, more of the emptying out where there is an inner understanding. Because in today's society, from having facts that has been hidden from us into almost being bombarded with all that fact. Like, imagine not being able to to know the truth, or just being in the dark with many things and not understanding, to all of a sudden this information with technology being so available that there is too much information. So this gap kind of represents, in my channeling these couple of years, is that we have a huge gap when it comes to having information and not having information. And this big gap is creating so many difficulties for us, because first we don't know and we want to find out, but when we find out, there is so much that you're kind of getting lost into it. It's like a rabbit hole that never ends, and it gets overwhelming because our brain is not functioning in that level of receiving. Like, it gets very tiring. The brain develops in the speed of the evolution in the universe. So when we are speeding something up that much, it creates glitches, just like a computer. It overheats. It's too much. And it's the same way here. So I really want you all that are listening to, however you experience your reality, to just let it flow. And I'm sorry now, because I'm speaking of channeling, it's challenging. I keep getting channeling information coming through right now. So I feel like I'm stopping in what I was supposed to speak about. And I've written down some facts just so that it can be very clear and so that I can see it. And also for me not to get myself off track, because when you're channeling, one thing that I have in my experience learned is that you can get off track so easily. I mean, there's so many energies involved. There's so many, it's like going through a menu, knowing what you want to have, and also deciphering what you are allergic to and what you shouldn't have. So it's like going through that very fast as the menu is entering, if I'm going to use a metaphor into this. So it can be quite challenging. And I'm connecting to this energy, so that's why. And I want to go into this facts now. Getting back to this, is that the actual fact of what channeling actually is. It refers to the process of receiving or transmitting information, ideals, or messages from sources beyond ordinary conscious awareness. So that is the definition of channeling. And we're basically connecting to our higher self to receive messages. And we can connect with these non-physical beings through trance state or shamanic practices or mediumship. And what I want to say here is that in my experience, we always have to keep in mind that even though if it's a trance state with using chemicals of any sort, you're still suppressing your natural state, which means that you are naturally channel only those entities that are available in that section, if that makes sense. So you can get into trance, but like Native Americans did these, like the rain dances, or when they were dancing and they were moving, and they got into a trance in that state. So some of them didn't really use other supplements to enhance that, others did. But if you want to reach higher channeling and receive higher messages, if the body, and because the body is the temple, is more clear, you will receive it so much more accurate. And that's very important to remember in these moments of how actually channeling messages are. So with that, I want to say something that just came through here. There was one there's one guy called Kevin, and he is the host talker of a talk show called The More Show, and he has a lot of challengers on his show. So, and he has had like Michael Murdan, I hope I'm saying that right, and also Bashar, is that his name? Yeah, those are like the top kind of big challengers that are very in the front line, where you've seen them somewhere on some YouTube channel, right? Or some platforms at least. And Kevin holds is doing a series where he is interviewing a lot of channelers, where it's called They Call Us Channelers. And I received an email from him that he wanted to do to connect with me and to have me on his episodes. But as I was connecting to this, I just felt like it was a no. So I was channeling a no, and I didn't understand why, because it's a very good, so naturally, if I had a channel and I want to have a visibility, this will be a great thing to do, right? But my spirit guides kind of stopped me into doing it, and I didn't understand why until like it went a little while, and I felt like, okay, but maybe if there's something blocking me, since I'm not receiving anything more about this, so maybe I should just book the call and then see what comes through. And as soon as I booked the call and I was connecting to this energy, again, my spirit guides were nudging to me that I'm not supposed to do it right now. And so I end up canceling that call, and he kind of wrote that we will see each other further on. And I felt the same way, like it's all about a timing, and this was not the timing, and it was channeled like that. So this is the difficulty I feel with channeling, that sometimes we want to push, and we want to do, and we want to receive everything that is there. But because I'm coming from a place of love, it is important for me to deliver my messages in love and understand, why am I doing it right now? Why is it happening right now? So it's not about the win or having the visibility. Everything is in divine timing. I live in accordance to that. Therefore, when I felt like it wasn't fitting, I kind of let it go. And it didn't feel like I was losing something. It just felt natural, like now is not the time. It will come a time where it will be better than it is. It just wasn't the right timing. That's basically what I wanted to say here in that statement. So in the same way here, as we're going through, see, I got this sidetracked there, something just happened, so I'm just letting it also flow now, because this part of this podcast is called channeling. So therefore, at the same time, channeling is happening, and I've already described this, but I just want to remind you guys all again, going back to a lovely observation of life and the facts on channeling. So there's different types of channeling. So one is connecting with spirit. So this is when we are we have our spiritual guides, and we are receiving insights. We're connecting to this. We're connecting fully to spirit. Another channeling is receiving divine messages. So I feel like I'm mostly connected to this one because it's connecting the earthly realms and the bridge to a higher dimension where we are connecting to angels, masters, and those type of energies. And I kind of feel like a bridge where I like to be in the both and see the both, because I don't like the extremes. Therefore, the bridge feels very comfortable for me to be in, because again, I don't see nothing as good or bad. And consciousness has chosen me to stay in that position. So we have all our purposes and what we're supposed to do. And of course, I didn't know this when I started to channel, but with time, things you get bits of pieces and you are growing into your own unique self, really. So I connect a lot to receiving divine messages as in a channeling form. And then we have medium. They are giving messages from deceived loved ones or spirits. And here it feels like when it is mediums, some people see this as the diseased ones being really fully there and the spirits. When I'm channeling and I see that energy of something that's been left behind. Like when the soul goes, the soul continues. They're doing other things, but if there's a part from the deceased one that's left, that something was not finished and it holds a lot of energy, that part of that soul can just come back and clarify whatever needs to be clarified. The same way with spirits, those spirits can just stay, and it's like they're not fully staying there. It's just a little part of them that's left, because that little part of them hasn't like dissolved completely as it should into entering whatever it's supposed to enter in and to change form, because consciousness is all shapes and forms. It's shapeless, really, basically. So that is the medium section of channeling. Then we have the energy work, and energy work is more acting as a portal when I'm channeling this. And I say this in facts, but I also put in how I have received it, because I feel like when we're reading facts, we're just reading facts based on what someone else has said and what someone else has said, and it's kind of like confirming something, and there's no room to have this openness of what is your experience of it. How have you experienced this? Did you just copy the facts and just continue? So I am partially copying the facts that is out there, that there is energy work, but then I also integrate my experience of this. And this is the big difference here. So energy work is acting as a portal. And I feel it always enters from my left hand. When I'm given this energy, if I'm not going to be completely drained myself, I would pull out my left hand, and then I'll ask the angels and higher dimensional beings to help me receive the message. And then I will feel a lot of energy just flowing through my left hand. Just I can feel the tension in my whole body as it goes through. Sometimes it's like a lot of energy, and my body maybe it's not ready for it, and I can actually feel it, like if I didn't eat a proper good high vibrational foods and stuff, that it can block and it can be difficult. Or if I'm feeling a different pressure in another way, it can also feel like difficulties, but it still goes through, and I feel like I'm protected. And then from my right arm is where that energy comes out. So it's like being a channel where your energy source is not emptying out, but you're just a receiver and a giver, like the connector in between. And this is beautiful. And usually you can see this in Reiki. They use both hands as they're doing this, and I use this also in my channeling. There is a part, but I'm not focused on one thing. If it's like now it might, especially in my YouTube channel, it's like if it is now, I'm supposed to give this energy out. So then I'll make a video where I'm just using my hands and using that gesture to release the energy wherever it needs to go to whoever is receiving it. But I'm not focused on just being on Reiki, because I feel connected to all of these points that I am, all of these different channeling forms. I feel connected to all of them. So sometimes I also use this Reiki technique, but I use it in my unique way. I don't use it in the traditional way. And I've been to Reiki myself and received it, and where I have felt like maybe I wasn't receiving it in the same way as I thought. So again, I've learned in this journey that channeling, as I say here, is challenging for the ego. And sometimes the ego, like the personhood, can start to enter and feel like I'm doing this good. We're actually not doing anything. When I'm helping people on this channel, I am not actually helping anyone. It is just happening. There's no one there to take credit for it. So I always stand in the position of I don't want to take any credit for it, because that's just the ego. And I feel I've learned a lot in Reiki there, where when the ego is involved, that no healing can happen, because the ego is blocking and wanting things to happen in a certain way. And therefore you're not like you're standing in the way of the healing itself happening. That's what I have experienced in my Reiki session, where it didn't clear me out. And I've learned a lot from that. So I've also learned to not stand in the way when I'm giving, whenever this is happening. So I can decide when I'm supposed to choose to give in this way, or however my spirit guide, spirit team wants this expression to happen. So energy work, I feel, is very good, because everything is basically energy in that sense. So if we can work and learn how energy works, we can learn who we are in ourselves. Another channeling way is creative expression. So it's musician, artists, and writers often can receive this inspiration to do a dance. It can also be a dancer. It can just be just a dance where you just get loose and just open up, and this expression happens. It doesn't always have to be publicized where everyone has to see you do this, or again, that it's a lot of ego involved in that, of wanting to be seen and heard. But when you make a great piece, people want to listen to it. When it's music, and it doesn't even have to really be promoted. If it is something that is resonating for people, people will listen to it. And in the same way with artists, if they look at it, if you look at a painting and you just feel drawn to it, you feel like it's healing you when you're looking at it. In my videos here, you can see I have these in my background. I paint also. This is my channeling. Sometimes I paint when it is something difficult or something in love, but I'm always connecting to the higher realms of what needs to come through when I paint. And it's the same way here. If you are if you're channeling, you're actually, I feel like it's natural to be in all of these sections here. And the same way with the creative expression, I also feel like I haven't seen it anywhere like that, but I've spoke of it in other times, where actors, they're channeling this, the act that they're playing, this character that they're playing in their movie. They are channeling this person, how this person is. That is a form of channeling. Okay, and I feel the same way. When you know this, I feel my own acting skills are very easily, because if you can channel, you can tap into that source. Not maybe that I want to start acting at this time, that will be a lot, but I've learned a lot that probably many people that are actors and actresses are out there and not even knowing that they will be great channelers for others. Like they can actually channel wonderful things that will help other human beings. But again, they also have to be in that state. So you also have to be clean as possible, so that you can reach higher vibration to receive those messages. And then we have one more. It is the seekers. So in facing difficulties, to trying to find this clarity, we come to a space where it's difficult in life, and we become the seeker, just this awakening in us that we're seeking for something that we don't know and we want to find out. And we are turning into our inner wisdom. We're turning it back to ourselves, inside of ourselves, to understand why is this happening right now. So these are, I've mentioned 6 of the main channeling ways that you can receive. And here I also want to mention to you all that are watching, is that however you channel and however you receive is your unique way. I just feel like so many are, to the listeners too, that's so many are, it can vary from person to person, okay, what resonates. It all depends on the conditioning of the mind and what's been programmed that you believe, okay? Remember that believe has a lie. In the middle of the sentence, it says lie. So believe, scratch that. It's just a program. It is not true. It is a belief, okay? So tap into more the knowing. So when we understand what resonates, we can, some connect with medium, others connect with connection with spirit, others are connecting with the creative expression. They're not into more the spiritual path, but they are spiritual in a different way. So there's different types of input depending on how you are connecting to this, okay? So it is all the conditioning. This is what I want to say. The source of everything is the conditioning. So if we recondition the mind or try to empty out as much as possible, we will recognize that we're starting to resonate with more and more things when it pertains to channeling. But my experience of channeling is not always connecting to divine beings. Here is the most valuable lesson I can give to everyone. If you're listening and you're channeling, or you're trying to understand when you are listening to other people that are channeling, like Bashar, and you're questioning, why are they changing their voice? What do they mean? And it can just be like the ego starts to get in there and tries to pick apart everything. Is that I don't believe that any channeler, like, there is always fraudness in everything, okay? So there's always a shadow side to everything. But the main thing is that if people are channeling and they are being heard to, like Abraham Hicks and Michael Meardam, am I saying his name right? I apologize if I'm not. But all of those that are very visible, it's people are resonating with them for a reason. With Michael, it can be more of a and he is connecting with more of the Christianity religion, so maybe you'll be more comfortable in that sense when you're connected with him. Bashar has a different input and is more open, and Abraham Hicks is connecting to someone else. And it's like all of it is valuable. All of it is an experience in itself of how one or what we want to listen to, but all of them has something to offer. They're still connecting, and because it is I will call it in the middle, because it's so broadly accepted, I would say that there are lower entities also involved there, because the way that they are being delivered, it is the wanting to have money. And really, when you are, this is the truth of the matter of fact, is that when you are in the highest sphere, you are knowing that money takes care of himself, and you are not even connecting to food or money. You just understand that none of these things exist. That is the higher scope of it. So when we are channeling and we are in the channeling of how you can receive more wealth or how you can call into a love, we are automatically connecting to lower entities also. And guidance, insight, and inspiration can come from all layers of existence, okay? So we don't have to be rigid and say that, oh, but this is from a lower entity, so it's not valid. It's not. It is. Because every entity, no matter what layer it is of existence, has something to teach. So we all have something valuable to give us. I have something valuable to give you. You have something valuable to give me. We all have something to give each other, okay? And that is in everything that exists. So the best way to do a channeling is to really meditate with the intention of pure love. This is what I do. I always stand in the pure love. Therefore, lower entities that are not in balance, and when I say not in balance, is what I'm truly aiming at, because just because they're lower entities doesn't mean that they're not valuable. It is those lower entities that are not balanced, so you don't want them to enter the energetic field when you are giving a message, because it can be deceptive. If a lower entity wants to do something else with a person and lower entities are connecting to each other, it becomes like a self-serving. The same way as we people have the ego of when it becomes self-serving purpose of wanting for yourself, but you don't see the big picture. The ego never sees the big picture and therefore always falls into all kinds of traps. And it's just exhausting because they keep wanting and fixing, and everything just falls apart, and they're fixing and you know, it is just messing up for yourself, really. The same way those entities can work in a way where they're giving you messages that are supposed to guide people in a certain direction, of a direction of where they want to eat more energy, or a different direction. So all of them have different aspects of why they want to do it. But if you connect to those entities that are in balance, it really doesn't matter where they are from, because all those entities in all realms, whether it's the highest or the lowest realm, if they are balanced, they know that we're in this together. So the point is not that we're supposed to harm each other, take from each other. We're supposed to complement each other. So when it's working in that way, it's harmonious, and I, as a channeler, feel like I can deliver a more accurate message to the viewers in my channel and the way that I am using channeling. And to approach channeling with an open heart, it will always give the best result in my experience. So if you've ever wanted to channel, or you feel like you're channeling something, or you don't know what your purpose is or how it's supposed to be directed, I would say that the difficulties with channeling is staying open and empty while getting the ego out of the way to receive the most accurate message. And I always tap into my feeling. This is how I work with channeling, and I just want to say this to anyone that maybe feels misguided or doesn't know what is real and not, even in listening to others that are channeling, is that everyone has their unique way. You need to follow your own compass and your own essence and your own guidance of what feels right for you. And again, this can change, because feelings change, thought change. When I'm channeling, I never want to tap into, I want to bypass the ego as quick as possible, because the ego stands in the way and everything can get so much more difficult than it really is. Because when it's simple, that's when you know it's right. When it starts to get complicated, that's when you know the ego is involved here. And how do we get the ego out of the way? In my experiences is I tap into my feelings, because this is how I'm connecting to the audience. I'm connecting through feelings. So because the mind can't decode feelings into words, because sometimes you can't speak your feelings into words. I get the ego to kind of get stuck there, and I can bypass it, and instead I go into my essence and my soul that gives the answer of the inner knowing. So that inner knowledge comes through in a different way. And then I'm just trying to put it in the words that feels most connecting to the viewer. So sometimes I can use very simple words, and other times it can be very complicated words instead in what I'm delivering. And it has nothing to do with what's better and what's worse. It has to do all of the one that is receiving needs to hear this word instead of this word. Like, it's not about which one is better or which one is worse, or this one is higher and more educated and this one is a lower. It's the simplicity of whatever is needed in the moment to bring and to deliver, and that is the correct. So the correct thing always varies and changes its forms depending on who is receiving the message. This is the most important. And when we are connecting to, when I'm channeling what's going to happen energetically in the world, for example, if I'm channeling that, and now it's been very difficult, I have to say, these fewer months, it's been so difficult because I keep putting myself in trouble, because I'm going with the feeling. And so when I'm feeling the collective, it's a lot of pain bodies, and it has depleted my energy, and it's kind of my own fault, but it is difficult because the energies are constantly shifting, and people are in this middle state, and this middle state here that we're in, moving out of this dark, called yuga, as they will call it in the Vedic. So we're moving on from the darker place. It's a complete shift from 2027. Everyone that will be born after that, it will be a completely different thing, and we will get into that further on in our podcast. But right now I just want to focus on that this channeling sessions that I've been having this few months have been less, and it's been less because we're in this pause, and this pause is, it's just giving a little bit information, and then it stops, because the information that I'm receiving is way far ahead. It feels way like it just, I feel like, should I say this now? Is it meant to say? And they're not giving me any direct answers. So when I don't get a full answer, that means that I have to stay with it. And the ego always wants to, but can't we do a video? Can we do it like this? And I know in my higher self, even though that it looks like everything is falling apart, just let it be. To just stay in a place of being uncomfortable in order to deliver the best thing as possible, because I'm doing this out of love. That's the whole reason why I'm channeling, and why I want to call this episode Channeling is Challenging for the Ego, because it truly is. The ego always wants to get into those channeling sessions to make it good, to have the information, to use the information of the knowledge, to combine it, and then it's not a challenge. It's not channeling in the correct way. It is misleading, and it's connecting to just, I don't feel like it's for the audience and everyone that's listened. That is not what I like to do. I don't like to do that. However anyone else is channeling, it's their way, and however one is connecting to that is also their own experience of what they need to learn. But I'd rather stay and not do anything than to do something wrong. So this waiting is quite difficult, and this episode was that's not a word, but more to speak on how channeling works and why I'm channeling and how I'm channeling. I really want to give my audience the most correct answer, and I will be giving, if you want to see, I'm going to do a YouTube video shortly with a new channel and energy update, but it will be a big jump from the last monthly channeling into this energy that is, it's a very big gap. So I hope that everyone can be comfortable in this gap, because it is difficult, as I'm feeling in the collective. The collective is, it doesn't matter if you're not suffering yourself. If you're listening to this and your life is great, that's amazing, but we are still all one. So as long as someone is suffering, we are still being connected in that way. So when everyone is more balanced, then suffering and enjoyment doesn't really exist. It just is everything. But it's this big gap that we're in right now of the extremes, which is causing it to be so open and out there, where we can see it and we're like, this is crazy, how can they do this, or why is it a war here, or why is this conflict? And it's all that, it's because of the extremes. And the same way with information, it is because of the extremes that has been happening. So we have to close that gap into getting ourselves into balance. And I've been channeling a lot of balanced energy, especially when I'm doing this full moons messages, connecting with the divine feminine, the dark aspect of ourselves that really needs to be balanced, because it's been just like very off. So if you want to follow that, you can also follow that. And I use tarot cards there. It's because of my ancestor has used that tool, and it's very easily for me. And again, I don't do tarot cards as I've looked at many tarot card readers and how they do it, and I have this my own unique way of how I taught it. I'm just listening to spirit, and I'm just following the spirit, the spiritual inner guidance of my ancestors when I'm doing my tarot card readings. But I practice every day as a natural thing, because I haven't done this since my awakening. When this started, I was not even introduced or know anything about these things. So the same way to you, wherever you are in your journey here of a loving observation of life, however you are observing your existing in your life, be that life that expresses itself fully. So whenever you start something or you're unlocking yourself and you're hearing this, I really hope that you can evolve and to be your true self, and to stand in your essence, and understand that everyone sees everything from their point and from their truths, and sometimes from their beliefs, which is again a lie that blocks them. And we're all here in a journey not to point out who's right and who's wrong, but morally, that's not a word either, right? Morally. But more to stand in alignment with ourselves, to understanding why am I doing what I'm doing. So that is the most important question that we can ask ourselves. Why are we doing what we're doing? And I'm doing this out of love, and I hope that you receive it in the name of love. And I hope that this podcast episode has given you something, and I am thankful for you being here and listening. So have a wonderful day. Always send in love your way, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye, everyone.